Donald Trump is panicking right now after an Epstein survivor just went on live TV and absolutely shredded him for trying to stall the release of the Epstein files. Just one day after Congress voted yes, the Trump administration has gone into full-blown delay mode, and their stonewalling makes it so obvious that they're terrified of whatever's in those documents. And this survivor, who originally voted for Trump specifically because he ran on releasing the files, said that he has lost all credibility, and she's calling him out like never before. So stick around as Trump's panic hits a breaking point, and don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more. Now, as I'm sure you're aware, yesterday, both halves of Congress voted almost unanimously to force the release of the Epstein files. And while we have to wait and see if Trump will sign the bill or try to veto it, his cabinet appears to be in shambles. After avoiding the spotlight for days as this bill was being brought forward, Kash Patel and Pam Bondi finally re-emerged to talk about the files, and their press conference was a complete mess, with Patel and department officials talking about how they would love to release the files right now, but they have to wait and see what the Department of Justice will do. And as the head of the DOJ, you would think that they could just ask Pam Bondi what the plan was, but it quickly became clear that she has no idea what's going to happen.
Off topic.
On the Epstein files, does the new investigation by the Southern District of New York U.S. Attorney prevent the department from releasing all of the remaining files?
So we have released over 33,000 Epstein documents to the Hill, and we'll continue to follow the law and to have maximum transparency. Also, we will always encourage all victims to come forward.
Not only did Pam Bondi dodge just about every single question that was thrown at her, she also couldn't even explain what her new investigation using the Epstein files were about. When she was asked why a last-minute investigation was started, all she had to say is that she found new information, but she can't even explain what that information was. Now, if the DOJ is using the files for an investigation, they can partially block their release, which is what many people are speculating Trump is telling her to do. And Pam Bondi doesn't do anything to dissuade this theory, because instead of explaining what's going on, all she can say is we will continue to follow the law. It almost sounds like she doesn't even know what's going to happen either. Not a good sign.
Say follow the law, Madam Attorney General. Do you mean that you will provide all the files by 30 days?
We will follow the law. The law passed both chambers last evening. It has not yet been signed, but we will continue to follow the law, again, while protecting victims, but also providing maximum transparency.
Madam Attorney General, the DOJ statement earlier this year saying that the files would not release mentioned the fact that the review of the documents and the evidence did not suggest that any additional investigation of third parties was warranted. What changed since then that you launched this investigation?
Information that has come for information. There's information new information, additional information, and again, we will continue to follow the law, to investigate any leads. If there are any victims, we encourage all victims to come forward, and we will continue to provide maximum transparency under the law.
We will follow the law doesn't feel like a very strong promise when it comes from someone in the Trump administration. Everyone in this cabinet has literally been working to shield the president as he tears our Constitution to shreds, so I don't think anyone is really going to be believing Pam Bondi here. But what's even crazier is that Congress doesn't seem to believe her either. In an interview last night, Republican Thomas Massie, the co-author of the Epstein bill, said that he specifically made a bill instead of other forms of information requests because bills are backed by the law. So if Pam Bondi, or anyone else for that matter, tries to disobey the law or tamper with the files, Massie and his allies in Congress are prepared to throw them in jail for it. Just 2 weeks after the government shutdown, we now have Republicans threatening jail time against other Republicans.
If the administration doesn't release what it has, what will you do as the two who led this charge and were the originals that are the reason we're here tonight?
Well, as Rose said, there are criminal penalties if they don't follow the law, and that's the recourse that we would follow. We undertook a very steep hill, a steep climb to get this done. There have been subpoenas, there have been resolutions, there's been an oversight committee. Those are all sort of Mother May I requests to the administration. We decided to do this as a law, which means it has to pass both chambers and even be signed by the man who was opposed to it. at least be presented to him. He could have always vetoed it. And because we're going to overcome all three of those hurdles, our recourse is legal now. These people could eventually go to jail for not releasing these files.
Now, to be clear, we are a little ways off from Republicans actually trying to arrest each other over these files, plus we don't even know if it's going to come to that. Congress ultimately has enough power to override Trump's veto, so we'll have to wait and see if he can bully Pam Bondi into actually blocking the files. But regardless of how long it takes to release them, the fact that Trump is even delaying signing the bill and releasing the files is already having a huge impact, and it's not in a good way for the president. In a stunning interview today, one of Jeffrey Epstein's most prominent survivors just tore Trump to shreds for his cowardly stalling of this release. Her name is Haley Robson, and she has been working as a witness for months to try to help supporters in Congress secure the release of the files. But the crazy thing is, she actually voted for Trump specifically to release the files.
If I could sit down with President Trump, it would be to look at him and say, where did we go wrong? Who owns you? What happened from last year to now? What event or what person or what influence changed the fact that you campaigned in 2024 on releasing the Epstein files? And how do we get back to the person I voted for and put in office? Because I feel extremely betrayed.
Despite voting for Trump just last year, Robson has completely turned against him over his clear pushback against releasing the files. And I'm willing to bet that even though it's Robson speaking out, there are probably untold numbers of Republicans who now feel the exact same way she does. I mean, here is what she had to say about Donald Trump now that Congress has passed the Epstein bill.
As he held in this press conference yesterday, that this is a show vote, and that really he had been wanting amendments to it because this is a show vote in terms of, the Democrats, Republicans coming together to vote for this. But he said that the majority of the survivors for Epstein have not spoken out, and he was concerned that this could harm innocent people or other survivors who want to stay private or people who have nothing to do with this.
Well, no, that's actually inaccurate in my opinion, because the survivors that don't want to be public are Jane Does. They've been protected, and their names have been redacted this whole time as Jane Does. The only people that you need to worry about are the survivors that are in those files and documents that are public and that are on the right side of things and whose names have never been redacted. I'm one of those people, and I've been very vocal on, I don't care if my name is redacted or not. My survivor sisters are important to me. Mm-hmm. And if that means that my name doesn't get redacted, but the files come out, that is the right thing to do. And that is it. There's no conversation that needs to partake in any of this. And honestly, this is where the administration failed the American people, not just the survivors of Jeffrey Epstein. You lose all credibility when you go back on your promises to the American people and the survivors that you campaigned on in 2024. You lose all credibility when you play the flip-flop game and you start intimidating people in your own party like Thomas Massie and Marjorie Taylor Greene that are on the right side of things. That's when you lose credibility. And you don't just lose credibility with your party, you lose credibility with your constituents. And I don't think Trump understands who some of his constituents are. Mm. And so for me, anything that comes from Johnson, the House Speaker, or this administration, I take with a grain of salt.
Survivor Haley Robson says that she has gotten to a point where she doesn't even trust the news she gets from Mike Johnson or anyone working with the Trump administration. Not to mention, she also pointed out that the victim names left in the files are those of people who have come forward to act specifically as a witness. Any other victim who wanted to stay away from this case could have had their names redacted years ago. So if this is true and the government did what it was supposed to, this completely shuts down all Republican complaints about victim safety. If everything was properly redacted years ago, then all of Mike Johnson's and the Senate Republicans' complaints about victim identities may have just been another Republican lie and stall tactic. The longer these files are held up by Donald Trump, the worse and worse the Republican Party as a whole is going to look. And even worse for Trump, more supporters of his, like Haley Robson herself, will turn their backs on him. So let me know if you think that the files are just going to be released, or if there's going to be a much larger fight down the road. And as always, be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more.